This is The Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
Just hours after a Kentucky grand jury brought no charges against Louisville police for Breonna Taylor's death and protesters took to the streets, authorities said 2 officers were shot and wounded Wednesday night during the demonstrations expressing anger over the killing of Black people at the hands of police. Interim Louisville Police Chief Robert Schroeder said a suspect was in custody, but did not offer any details about whether the person was participating in the demonstrations. He says both officers are expected to recover. One is undergoing surgery. He says the officers were shot after investigating reports of gunfire at an intersection where there was a large crowd. Several shots rang out as protesters in downtown Louisville tried to avoid police blockades, moving down an alleyway as officers lobbed pepper balls. People covered their ears, ran away, and frantically looked for places to hide. Police with long guns swarmed the area. Then officers in riot gear and military-style vehicles blocked off roadways. The violence comes after prosecutors said 2 officers who fired their weapons at Taylor, a Black woman, were justified in using force to protect themselves after they faced gunfire from her boyfriend. The only charges were 3 counts of wanton endangerment against fired officer Brett Hankison for shooting into a home next to the Taylors with people inside. The FBI is still investigating potential violations of federal law. Ben Crump, a lawyer for Taylor's family, denounced the decision as outrageous and offensive, and protesters shouting "No justice, no peace" immediately marched through the streets. Scuffles broke out between police and protesters, and some were arrested. Officers fired flashbangs and fires burned in the square that had been the center of the protests. Demonstrators also marched in Flint, Grand Rapids, Detroit, as well as major cities like New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Philadelphia. Taylor, an emergency medical worker, was shot multiple times by white officers who entered her home during a narcotics investigation. State Attorney General Daniel Cameron said that while the officers had a no-knock warrant, the investigation showed they announced themselves before entering. The warrant used to search her home was connected to a suspect who did not live there, and no drugs were found inside. That was the scene in Louisville last night. You're listening to The Guy Gordon Show. 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0957. Let's bring in Laura Hesson and Mike Parsons to the conversation. Guys, it was tough to watch last night as Louisville burned and demonstrations got violent. And once again, we saw scenes around the country that are just difficult to watch.
Yeah, and I think everyone's heart sank when they heard that 2 police officers were shot in Louisville because, you said it yesterday on the stream, Kevin, that you hope it remains peaceful, and it seems like locally, it was peaceful. In most other major cities, it was peaceful, but in Louisville, it got out of hand. And there's a lot of anger out there. People don't know what to do with their anger, and anger begets anger, and it just bubbles up and it just intensifies.
Yeah, seeing some of it was really hard to see, but you never hope that it gets to the point that it got to last night, because it doesn't help anything.
Yeah, it's really, we all have the right to protest. We all have the right to our opinion of what happened and what police should do or should not be doing. There's obviously a lot of debate about no-knock warrants, but when protests turn violent, it doesn't help anyone. And it's just tough.
Well, and the frustrating thing about the no-knock warrant is that originally it was reported it was a no-knock warrant, and then it's reported that they did knock, and then one set of witnesses said the police did identify themselves, another said that they didn't. And I don't know the law. Obviously those police officers had the wrong house. And the fact that they had the wrong house is why Breonna Taylor is not alive today. But it's such a complicated situation, and I wish I had a clear understanding and a clear view of who to be mad at and what to be mad at. But it's just it feels terrible all the way around.
Yeah, well, when you know, a no-knock warrant, they're issued when it's too dangerous for police to knock and announce themselves. You watch TV shows, you know, you'll hear police, police. They'll knock down the door and hit the door and go in. That's announcing that you have a search warrant and you're there on police business. A no-knock warrant allows you to go in and execute a search warrant without announcing yourself. In this case, the investigation showed they did announce themselves. However, you know, the family's attorney says that it's not the case, that they did not announce themselves. And of course, the person they were looking for didn't live there, and there were no drugs in the house. And that's problematic. Let's check the phone lines. The number is 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. Let's start off with Greg in Shelby Township. Greg, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Hey, Kevin, Mr. Positive. Hey, I've got to show as much empathy and sympathy as possible. Now, it's been, I guess, written in the grand jury report that this person who shot at the police was arguably selling drugs out of their apartment, and supposedly, from what I'm hearing, is, and I could be wrong, Breonna Taylor knew this, but if it's the wrong house, who were they actually looking for if it was the wrong house? And did they have the police found the person in the house that they were supposed to go? Number one. Number two, because it's an edict sent from the top down, shouldn't the captain and the lieutenants be responsible also in her death? Because I've got to follow orders. Kevin Dietz has to follow orders. Laura Heston and Mikey Parsons have to follow orders. So the culpability being predicated upon having to follow orders, do you see how this could escalate to even more people being involved? There's so many unanswered questions, Kevin. I was just wondering what you thought.
Well, Greg, I wish I had all those answers for you. The governor, who's a Democrat, said that he wants the attorney general to post online all of the evidence that can be released without affecting the charges. He said those that are currently feeling frustration, feeling hurt, they deserve to know more. And I think everybody wants to know more, and we need to know more. Did they just get the wrong address? I've covered drug raids in Detroit where they just got the address wrong and they hit the wrong house. I'm not saying that's the case here. I don't know. What is reported is that the person they were looking for was not her boyfriend. The person they were looking for was someone else who did not live there and was not there, and there were no drugs in the house. When they came into the house, according to the family's attorney, they thought that someone was breaking in, and the boyfriend opened fire. Police returned fire. And that's a horrible situation. But as to what else we're going to find out about what was going on or not going on in that home, we'll have to see as more information is released. We appreciate your call, Greg. Let's check in with Ken. Actually, we're up against a break. We're gonna take your calls after the break, but right now let's check in quick with traffic and Michael Stetz.
Thank you very much, Kevin. WJR Traffic First, sponsored by Chris Furniture. Chris Furniture is offering a special on CR Lane, top-of-the-line sofas, love seats, and chairs with your choice of style, fabric, and colors. Made in the USA, from their family to yours. Chris Furniture open by appointment only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Call 734-427-3080. In Wayne County, road construction on the Southfield southbound at Michigan Avenue. That has traffic moving slowly from Ford Road right now. That single-lane closure scheduled through early November. And in Monroe County, you're moving slowly right now on 23 southbound between Ida West Road and 223. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Well, we had such a comfortable start to the work week with fall in the air earlier this week, but we're up close to 80 degrees again today. Now, records this time of year in the upper 80s. Our record high today, 89 from 2017. We won't be that warm, but we will be right at 80. 55 our low tonight. Comfortable, cool nights, warm afternoons. Low 80s for Friday into the weekend. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
Well, it looks like everyone's checking in here early. Good to see everyone.
Oh, yeah, I got to pop over and say hello. Bill and Mark and Clint and Jerry, Mark, Patricia.
And Patrick.
Patrick.
Would you be able to hang on hold for a couple minutes?
Patrick,
Sorry.
you don't have to call Patrick. You can just type right here. We'll discuss you. We'll throw your question in there.
Right. Well, Patrick's he's a big contributor to the Between Show.
The Between Show, yes, absolutely.
Mark Garner says when serving a search warrant, there is all kinds of prep that takes place. Surveillance checks, descriptions of the property. Every search warrant, you never know what will happen, which is why there is a pre-plan. So is it a done deal? Is it now known that it was a no-knock? It was not a no-knock warrant, or is that still up in the air?
No, it was a no-knock warrant, but so they didn't have to knock. They said they did anyway.
Right.
The issue is going to be where did they go to the right house? It's really rare they make mistakes on the wrong house, because you do have before there's a raid, there's a whole. I've been on probably 25 raids with the Detroit Police, and there's a whole meeting beforehand. You talk about the routes. If someone gets injured, where's the closest hospital? You talk about who you expect to be there. Will there be a dog? What's going to happen, and what's the layout of the house as best you know it. Usually you'll have someone who's done a buy in there before. That's how you get the search warrant. So the person who does the buy will know.
What's a buy?
Will have bought drugs there. An undercover.
Oh, okay.
Will have bought drugs there before. I mean, that's how you get a warrant. But I haven't heard any of that in this case, and I don't know. What happened there. That's why I think the governor wants the information made public as quickly as possible.
Right. Well, and I know they're claiming that they knocked, but if no-knock warrants are for the most dangerous of the dangerous, and they decided to knock because they felt it wasn't that dangerous of a situation, and this might be a moot point, but why was a no-knock warrant issued in the first place?
That's between the police requesting it and the judge who signs it. And I don't know if Michigan has no-knock warrants. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. But clearly they have them in Kentucky, and you can have a warrants or raids where you have to announce yourself, and ones where you don't. And typically that's simply for the safety of the officers involved.
Right.
Kevin, we did have Matt Finn call in, and he is good to go for the next segment.
Okay, we'll start with Matt, then go to college. We'll just take him for a few minutes and then go to college.
Okay, cool. I'll reorder into that too.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, maybe Matt can clarify some of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm with Patrick. The question is if the police knocked or they didn't knock, and it seems like those are.
That's not really the issue, though. I mean. They had a no-knock warrant, so they didn't have to. I mean, that may be the issue of why the guy shot at police or didn't shoot at police.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'm not speaking legally, because, like I said, I don't know the laws and everything. But to me, that's the most confusing part of all of this.
We'll just drill Matt Finn with a bunch of questions, put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling, Matt. What's
there you go.
Warrant?
There you go. Use your investigative tactics. Who are you working for? Fox News, actually. There we go.
The stories that have been breaking while you've been at work. 760 WJR, where Detroit comes to talk. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
The lines are filling up, and we want to hear from you as well. 1-800-859-0957 as we talk about Breonna Taylor and the reaction to the decision in Louisville. And joining us on the line right now is Matt Finn, Fox News correspondent, covering the story from Louisville. Matt, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us, first of all, what the situation is down there now, what it was like last night.
So right now, a large portion of downtown Louisville remains under a very tight lockdown. There are countless roadblocks, large dump trucks blocking the majority of streets leading to the downtown area. There are police doing screenings, only allowing in essential workers and residents. The National Guard and their Humvees, very visible. It's safe to say that Louisville was not caught off guard, that they knew that this grand jury announcement was eventually coming, and they prepared very adequately. Last night, there were a couple hundred protesters who immediately started marching after the grand jury announcement. They marched rather peacefully for several hours But then as night fell, as we often see, they started taunting police. They lit some small fires. I saw them throw some, bottles of water and objects at police. And at that point, as we've seen across the country, police and law enforcement then declare that unlawful assembly, meaning, hey, we gave you guys the room to protest. We allowed you to, exercise your freedom of speech, but now this is turning violent. And so, there was a giant loudspeaker in the downtown area telling the protesters that this was an unlawful assembly, that they had to go home or they were going to be arrested. And ultimately, police arrested more than 100 people. We actually saw them late into the night make a couple dozen arrests ourselves.
At what point were the officers shot during the protest?
It was probably in the 7 or 8 o'clock hour local. And so downtown, kind of like the town square area, has really been ground zero for protests. There's also a beautiful Breonna Memorial there. But about a mile or two from there, I wasn't there, but there was, I guess a group of people. Police responded to that group, and unfortunately, 2 officers were shot. The video's out there. We're airing the video on Fox News. You can hear the gunshots.
And so, as far as we do know that they arrested a suspect in this case, but they haven't necessarily determined if he was shooting at police because of the protests or because of Breonna Taylor's situation. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's still under investigation. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, we had some questions about the no-knock warrant. And was it the wrong house? So, when we're reading about the story here, it says that, police originally were going there looking for a suspect, and the suspect didn't live there and no drugs were found in the house. Do you know, or do we know if police had intended to go to that house specifically because they thought that this suspect would be there or that drugs were being sold at this house?
Yes, they did intend to go to that house. They did not have the wrong house. Breonna Taylor's former boyfriend, police believed, was using that house as a part of his drug ring. I believe they thought he had received and perhaps sent some packages from there. So as a part of their entire investigation, they did intend to go to Breonna Taylor's apartment.
And then the no-knock warrant, is that something that police request for their own safety? Most, raids I've been on here in Detroit, they'll might have a battering ram and they'll announce police as they're running up the sidewalk and they'll knock the door down and it's very clear that the police are coming in. I don't know if I've ever been on a no-knock raid before, but is that something they do for the safety? And what is the debate over whether if they had a no-knock warrant, does it matter as much if they announce themselves or not?
I'm not entirely sure why they, choose to use no knocks in certain situations. But yesterday, the Kentucky Attorney General here clarified. He said that, while the no knock warrant was approved, it was later modified to an announce and enter, or announce and knock. And the Attorney General, the top prosecutor in the state, said yesterday that the officers did knock and announce on Breonna Taylor's door, that it ended up not being a no-knock. They say that an independent witness verified that they had heard police, identifying themselves. And now they did forcibly enter, but it ended up not being a no-knock warrant. Now, since that happened, since the Breonna Taylor incident, no-knock warrants here in Louisville have been banned. And yesterday, the Attorney General said he's launching a task force to investigate, in general, how warrants are obtained and executed in this state.
And what, if anything, do we know about the boyfriend and the gun that was used to shoot at police? Do we know if he was part of the investigation at all, or just an innocent bystander?
So police were looking for Breonna Taylor's previous boyfriend, or they at least wanted to get access to her house based on, the previous boyfriend using her apartment. They weren't looking for her current boyfriend, who is Kenneth Walker. And my understanding is that man had a license to carry. He was a lawful gun owner. And that he says, or police say, he basically testified or told them on the record that he thought intruders were breaking in, as many people might, and that he fired at them thinking they were intruders. He claimed they did not identify themselves, that they just burst through the door. Police obviously dispute that. The Attorney General, the top prosecutor, says he's a black man, by the way, and he says he understands as a black man the pain that this causes the black community, but they did a thorough investigation and they concluded that that police did announce and knock at her apartment.
And last week, the city settled a lawsuit with the family for agreeing to pay $12 million in enact police reforms, if I understand it correctly. So are they admitting that either they did something wrong or that things need to be changed in the way they execute drug raids?
I don't know that they, the Attorney General didn't necessarily admit that they did something wrong. He kept calling it a tragedy, and the mayor himself and a lot of us city leadership here have admitted that there needs to be massive overhauls in warrants. They have banned the no-knock warrant here in Louisville, and the Attorney General said yesterday that he is going to launch a task force to investigate how those warrants are acquired here, because it's fair to say, and we've seen a lot of people online and stuff say, hey, if I'm laying in my bed at night and someone knocks on the door that they're police, I don't know that they are, and then they come bursting through the door, I might shoot. Right. So it is a tragedy. And the Attorney General of Kentucky used that word over and over again. He wasn't making excuses, and he wasn't necessarily, I think, trying to paint this as perfect policing.
And ultimately, the AG said that police, once fired on, had every right to defend themselves and return fire. Bottom line.
Yes, some big revelations yesterday. He's saying that Kenneth Walker, the boyfriend, fired first, and that the officers ultimately responded to that. And one of the officers was hit in the leg; he needed surgery. So he says that 2 out of the 3 officers that were not charged were authorized to use force.
Okay. Matt Finn, thank you very much for being down there covering the story for us. We will go to Fox and check out the video, and we will follow your reporting. We appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your busy day to come on the Guy Gordon Show. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. I love the city of Detroit.
All right. We appreciate that. All right. Let's get some more of your phone calls in. Ken from Livonia, you're up on the Guy Gordon Show.
Go to Lee in Waterford. We lost Ken.
Okay, we lost Ken. Lee in Waterford, welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
You bet.
My biggest issue with this whole Breonna Taylor thing is the misinformation that has been out there for so long is what's been driving all the anger. I mean, we've known these set of facts that the Attorney General put out there yesterday for months, but the media has been speculating. All we've heard is wrong apartment, white officers went in, shot an unarmed black woman. Race had nothing to do with it. When the police are shot at, they returned fire, and she was tragically caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, Lee, it's so important to get all the facts out. And I think the governor is right when he says whatever the AG can put out to put it out in the public, and the media has a responsibility to accurately report what they know. And speculation is very dangerous, and you don't want more victims, because of the way the communities respond to media reports or just misinformation that's out there. We're going to get back to more of your calls after the break. We also have the police chief of Detroit coming on next. So stay with us. Right now, we're going to check traffic with Michael Stutz.
In Genesee County, an accident on 75 southbound at Bristol Road that has you stop and go from Miller Road. In Wayne County, you're moving slowly on 275 northbound between M14 and 6 Mile. And in Oakland County, you're a slow go right now on 75 northbound between 9 Mile and 14 Mile. Now WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Attention new car buyers. Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is offering huge savings on their inventory of new Ram pickups during the Ram Power Days event. Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Hall Road in Clinton Township. Show up, sign up, and ride. Clear skies heading into tonight with a low near 55. Right now it's 76 degrees. I'm Michael Stutz, WJR News in 1 minute.
All right. Well, it looks like our comments section here has a pretty good discussion going.
Yeah, Matt was great. He knew he had a lot of answers to the questions people are asking, and that's good. Good to get someone who's, right there reporting in the town.
Yeah, and he saw things from, he gave us perspective from both sides, which I think is always valuable.
Yes, for sure.
Ron Campbell II says, how about the DA did not provide, he corrected himself in the next comment, did not provide compelling evidence to the grand jury, and when are people going to learn Detroit still hasn't recovered from the 67 riots? Burning down your town solves nothing.
No, burning down your town is not a good idea. And I'm so grateful that Detroit residents and police and community leaders have all kind of agreed to come together to not let things get to that point. And hopefully that will continue.
Yeah. I mean, last night it was peaceful. We're going to have Chief coming up here, but I feel like he really does make an effort to build relationships within the community, so when tensions do arise, he can, they don't boil over to a destructive point.
Also, Kevin, he just called in. He's a couple minutes early, so he's going to call back.
Okay.
He did not have good reception when he was talking to me before.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that changes when he calls the next
Okay. If it's bad, just just give me a thumbs down and I'll thank him and we'll go back to callers.
I think you'll know.
It's funny. Well, sometimes it sounds bad here and sometimes it sounds bad here and it's okay or better there.
Right.
Oh no, this was like every other word you could not.
Did you mention that to him or no?
Pardon me?
Did you mention it to him?
Oh yeah. Well, he knew because when he called in, I almost hung up on him because I didn't think anyone was there.
Oh.
And then I finally heard him go, "Hello, can you hear me?" So, when it got
you
better for a
minute,
minute,
be honest with the police.
It got better for a minute and then it went downhill again. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Mark Garner says, Kevin, as you know, search warrants are very difficult at times. You gave us a little insight to that last break here.
Yeah.
Patrick says the true issue from start to finish when they applied for the warrant up to the 1 a.m. raid. Why 1 a.m.? I'm guessing
safety again.
Yeah.
Go while people are sleeping. Dangerous though.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. A lot of questions. Matt Finn was great at giving us some answers, but people are going to keep re-looking into this for a while, I think.
Well, it's important. No, it is. It really is important to go back. I mean, we've had cases in Detroit where people were shot, innocent people were shot. Police officers have been charged, executing a search warrant is about as dangerous as it can get. We had James Tolbert on not too long ago. He was the Flint police chief when he was in Detroit Narcotics. He was shot in the leg while going in through a house, and a lot of drug dealers will set booby traps, and right, it's very, very dangerous work. And so you want to make sure the police are safe, but you really want to do your homework before going. You don't want to go too early. You want to gather enough information so that you can do them safely.
Well,
that's one of the reasons they take so many people, because the overwhelming force tends to make people just give up rather than to fight.
Right. So is it unusual? Were there more than 3 officers there, or it was just 3 officers?
There would have been more officers behind them. Those were just the 3 that went into the house.
Got
it.
So
you line up 1, 2, 3. First guy hits the door. Second guy goes in. Third guy goes in. And then there's more behind, and there's more. Right. There's more in the back of the house. There's more. Typically, I don't know. What happened there, but all the ones I've been on, that's how it's worked. There's usually 2 vans. The first van hits, the second van takes the surrounding house. You got to watch the neighbor's house to make sure nothing happens behind you.
Now, what's all involved with getting a reporter to go out on? Because I would imagine that there's quite a process to get approval to bring a reporter along on one of these.
We used to do them all the time in the 80s and 90s, and then they stopped after Waco. If you remember, agents went into Waco and booby trapped, and there's a disaster, and then everything stopped for a long time. And then different cities have different policies and different rules, and so sometimes sometimes now you go, but you can't go. You don't go on the property, or you film it from across the street.
Right. Okay, we're back in 16, and we'll let you know as soon as Chief's there.
All right, let me know where to start on the phones too, because I don't know where we're at.
Laura's reordering right now.
Okay.
The Guy Gordon Show, 760. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
Detroit Police Chief James Craig has received national praise for the way he has run his police department during months-long protests across the country, calling for reform in policing. He has separated true peaceful protesting from intentional acts of violence by instigators. The first he encourages, the second he will not tolerate. Chief Craig joins us now to talk about what he has seen around the country and in Louisville, Kentucky, as it relates to the investigation into the death of Breonna Taylor. Thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show, Chief.
We're still trying to track down Chief. I would say go to.
Oh, I thought we had him on the line.
Lori Lapeer.
Okay, while we're waiting for the Chief to call in, let's check in with Lori and Lapeer. Lori, thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show.
Hey, how you doing? I was just calling in to comment on all of these reports of cops killing and shooting and whatever, not them being killed. The news, going back all the way to Ferguson and probably before that, the news and social media just harp on unarmed man, hands up, don't shoot, don't choke me, no knock warrants are dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Then once the truth comes out, everyone's still upset. Everyone is still upset. The rioters won't seem to believe that, all of these independent sources. And in Ferguson, my gosh, that was investigated by every level, multiple times. And they still riot, and they still use that as an example. And it just seems to me that right now what we're in, and we've been there since at least 16, justice in the United States right now has nothing to do with juries or courts. It's media and it's mobs. And that's it. Because no matter what, you're done.
Well, Lori, social media has really changed everything. It's really hard to tell who is a legitimate reporter or a respected reporter from just any voice. We saw it in Detroit when there was a person was shot in Detroit and killed by police, and instantly on social media, they called it a bad shooting, and they encouraged mobs of people to come over to that part of Detroit where it happened to protest or riot or whatever they were going to do. And fortunately, the chief of police was able to get body cam video quickly that showed the man had shot at police and a bullet whizzed right past his head before officers ever shot back. And had they not been able to get that video out or that message out, you would have another dangerous and violent situation. And so, social media is very frightening, and people are very quick to retweet something without having any idea really where it came from or what the information was. And when legitimate media sources do it, it makes it even worse. And when police fail to be transparent, it makes it worse, because then people are suspicious that they're hiding something, and maybe they're just trying to get to the bottom of the investigation. Maybe they're just trying to get the facts before they come out. But in today's world, if you wait too long to get the truth out or the facts out, you're going to have a very serious problem. And we've seen that over and over. Thanks for calling. Let's check in with Michael in Ferndale. Michael, welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Let's go to Chief. He called in.
Oh, good. The Chief's here. Great. Chief James Craig joins us now. Chief, thanks for calling into the Guy Gordon Show. We appreciate it.
Hey, how you doing? And you were so right in your to the last speaker. It's a different world today. And as you know, Kevin, it's always important to get as much information out as early, but you run a risk. You always run a risk because, early in an investigation, facts change. And, I think Detroiters by and large know that. And I always say it when I'm giving a briefing early. I said, this is what I know right now. But what we're challenged with more today, not just here in Detroit, but across this country, is another group that puts out a very different narrative, and it really creates a lot of chaos. We almost, as you pointed out, the Hakeem Littleton shooting is a great example of how I came out within 1 hour. Those who had other agendas came out within 30 minutes of my briefing and basically said we assassinated Hakeem. 15 times he was shot, which was an absolute lie. And so that's what we're faced with. And I know I'm calling to talk about, the tragic death of Breonna out in Louisville. But again, we have another situation where, facts that weren't released timely for whatever reason. And now we know that it wasn't a no-knock warrant. We know factually, based on the grand jury's review and decision, that it was an announcement. It was not a no-knock warrant. And so that changes it. But of course, that's not good enough for those who are still angry. And then you got to take into consideration the other issue with the suspect who was the target in that warrant, who opened fire on the officers and they returned fire because they thought they were faced with imminent threat to their life. And unfortunately, Breonna was fatally shot.
The no-knock warrant, is that something that is requested by police to a judge for the safety of the officers because of the seriousness of the warrant they're executing?
We don't do it, and I'll tell you why. It does lead to sometimes very difficult outcomes. We don't do it in Detroit. However, all departments across this country have the ability through an exigency. Let's say, for example, Kevin, we have an active shooter. We have information. Shots are being fired. There's an active shooter in a residence. And police go in without a warrant, without notice, to try to mitigate whatever the threat is. That's one example. Hot pursuit of an armed and dangerous suspect into a home where police know that person's entered would be another exigency. But when you talk about narcotics warrants, we don't do no knocking. We just don't do it. High risk.
When you look at what's going on in Kentucky, is this a situation now again where you have legitimate peaceful protesters, but also mixed in you have instigators? I know now we have 2 police officers shot, and I don't know that if that's directly in response to what happened to Breonna Taylor or the decision by.
I believe so. I absolutely believe so. I believe it was in direct response. I do believe, and I'll say it, most of the protesters are peaceful, but there is a contingent embedded with the protesters that have a very different agenda. And when you hear people say, that's not true, the chief's embellishing, we've always been peaceful, so you just discount the fact that projectiles are being thrown at police officers, that when lawful arrests are being made, that there's resistance to that arrest, or lasers are directed at police officers in the air and on the ground. It's amazing to me, Kevin, how that gets watered down and dismissed. And then Rashida Tlaib's example says, I'm dismissive. Oh no, I'm not dismissive, because I recognize that most of the protests have been peaceful and we respect that. But on those occasions where we were attacked or we were initiating a lawful arrest and there was resistance, we can use that force as necessary. And so this is how the narrative is oftentimes changed today. That's what makes what we're dealing with much more challenging.
Is it because you guys don't put up with those instigators and you arrest them that there's not been problems in Detroit like we've seen in other cities? Is it when police hesitate when they see instigators to act that it gets out of hand, or is it not as simple as that?
It's not as simple as that, Kevin. In fact, this is something that I've studied. I've been on the front lines of it. going back to my time in LA, having gone through the conflict or the riots, I should say, associated with Rodney King's verdict when those officers were acquitted. I'm keenly aware of how these things happen. However, that said, that's why building relationships with communities should not start at the time when things go bad. It should be institutionalized within the fabric of a police organization. And that's how you build trust-based relationships. So when you look at the agitators who have come to Detroit from outside of Detroit, who have tried to provoke and incite violence, it didn't look very well for them. Why? Because they couldn't enlist Detroiters to commit crimes. And that's what's happening in these other cities. It's the locals who's doing it, but it's somebody who's driving and provoking. It's never about the issue of a Breonna Taylor or a George Floyd. That's not the issue. We've got to understand what's truly going on.
All right. We obviously a conversation that needs to continue. We appreciate you being there for us. Chief, thanks for checking in with us and helping us through this. Chief James Craig, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
In Wayne County on 96 at Beach Daly Road, an accident has the right 3 lanes blocked. Excuse me, that's a vehicle fire that has the right 3 lanes blocked. You're stop and go right now from Telegraph Road. In Oakland County, you're moving slowly on 75 northbound right now between 9 Mile and 14 Mile. And in Macomb County, you're a slow go right now on M59 eastbound between Mound Road and Van Dyke. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com.
Well, low 80s here to stay through the weekend. Looks like above average numbers for us into Sunday, and then another cool down coming our way Monday, Tuesday, early next week with some rain showers in the forecast. Near 80 this afternoon, low tonight 55, upper 70s near 80 this weekend. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on News Talk 760 WJR.
All right, glad the chief was able to call us back there.
Yeah, so I saw that you had that in the private chats. That we had so many callers that I didn't scroll down. I was on whoever the next caller was, and so
it's hard to keep up sometimes.
But then Laura gave me the big helicopter signal. I figured something was going on.
Well, I didn't want to do that if I didn't have to, because I didn't want you to think the segment was over.
Yeah,
that was my fear.
Mike loves to just jump in and correct me. He's like, "No, dummy, we're going to Bob."
I mean, normally, under normal circumstances, we have a button that we can push that goes right to your ear.
Yeah.
However, here we don't have that. So instead of having you flop around and wonder what's going on and type us in, I figure the most expeditious thing to do.
I think the people like it.
You know what, though? I'm glad you're both here because something popped up on my Facebook memories 5 years ago. I think you both would get a kick out of. We often talk about your time on the roof at Channel 4 5 years ago, before I even met you. And I don't remember what the story was, but
hey, I thought that roof was the best gig ever until I found out about this house reporting program where you just sit at your dining room table and report. This is even better than the roof.
Yeah, the pandemic for that one though.
The roof.
I would be at the roof on the roof of Channel 4, and I'd have my car started, ready to go, so I could, as soon as my last word was, I could rip that earpiece out, jump in the car, and be heading home.
Like you just parachute down off the roof into your car. That's really pretty badass. I just thought that was funny because we often
talk about it.
We often talk about it.
Mike, what time will we be back here?
We are back in 1 minute.
Okay, then I'm gonna call Tori. We can go into one call. Probably is all we're gonna have time for before we get to Tori.
352. You said we go to her.
Yeah, that's about when I'll call her, and it's just by the time we get into everything. What'll be our out, Mike? This segment.
I'm gonna say 56:20.
Okay. Yeah, we should be into Tori around 52.
All right, I'll just jump right into the call. See if we can get a couple of them.
I'll put in the chat when I've got her there. Usually I call her early because she usually is in Allen Park and has bad service and has to walk outside, but she's, I think, doing everything from home as well, too.
Who we going to first here?
Looks like Michael in Ferndale.
Okie doke.
Is that Michael still around?
Yep, he still is. No. And if not, I'll jump in and let you know.
Say, ha, it's Ron.
I tricked you again, Kevin.
I got more airtime.
This is the Guy Gordon Show, 760 WJR, where Detroit comes to talk. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
We just heard from Chief of Police James Craig. Now let's go right to the phone lines. Mike in Ferndale, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Hey, Kevin, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be upstaged by the chief. He's my most admired person in the United States right now.
He's doing a great job.
Yes, he is. Again, it's been corrected during your show here that it was the right house that they went to. As noted, Brianna was actually on the warrant because of some of her overt activities in the drug dealings. The police knocked on the door for over 15 minutes before they entered. When they entered, and there were shots in this murky, dark area, they shot in that direction, and she was shot.
Why would they knock for over 15 minutes? That doesn't make sense to me.
They giving an announcement that they were there.
It's usually like 15 seconds, and then they bust the door down, unless they're.
Oh, not in this case. Well, we'll get the details, obviously, as they.
All right.
Okay. But the other thing is, Chuck Schumer is still trying to rile people up by saying she was in bed. She was not in bed. She was standing near where her boyfriend was.
All right. Well, yep, it was the right house, and they were looking for her former boyfriend, so we know that. So we're going to jump in and check Rod real quick in Plymouth. Rod, thanks for being on the show.
As a comparison, just several years ago, there was a young girl who was an innocent girl who was shot and killed with a announce and knock warrant, and there was a movie film crew there. And there's some, even though the last gentleman was very insightful in some of the knowledge that hasn't been disseminated yet, such as the 15 minutes and that she was on the warrant, I'd like to know if, in fact, if she was on the warrant, then they should have been after her, not necessarily the boyfriend, because unless he's a lookalike with the former boyfriend, this boyfriend had nothing to do with it. However, a postal service said there was no drugs. There was found no drugs. And everyone that's been calling up onto WJR, most everyone, is trying to discredit her innocence at this point. So the facts are important, and like Craig said, even the facts do change sometimes early on.
Right. No, and they will. And the governor of Arizona has asked the attorney general to put as many facts as possible up on the internet so that people can read them for themselves and see for themselves. I'll tell you, on the raids I've gone on, they have been very careful to usually be like 90% sure that the person they're looking for is there. And in other words, they'll have undercover officers watching the house, and they'll say, okay, the person we're looking for is in the house right now. And they, so it's a little problematic that the person they're looking for wasn't there, and the person, her current boyfriend apparently had nothing to do with it. So I'd like to see all the facts myself. I want to read as much as I can on it, and not much has come out, not enough, according to the Arizona governor. Thanks for calling. We're going to check in now with Tori Petrie with the Detroit Lions, DetroitLions.com, to check in on our beloved Detroit Lions. Tori, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Welcome to the show. We've kind of had a heavy first hour here, so we're glad you're here to talk about the Lions, but the Lions have been a little heavy as well, with a couple of losses after having pretty decent leads. We got the Cardinals this week?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely hasn't been too cheerful for the Lions to start the season, but they are hoping that they can turn things around against the Cardinals this weekend. They go on the road again And we will be covering things from here in Detroit as the Lions are in Arizona. But they've got a big challenge ahead of them because it's their defense that has been struggling, and this Arizona offense is cruising right now.
Oh, man, I love watching Kyler Murray. And now DeAndre Hopkins is with them as well.
Yeah.
Fun if you're a football fan of wide open football. If you're a Lions fan or a safety or corner for the Lions, it's got to be a little frightening.
Yeah, most definitely. And the Lions had to start a rookie cornerback last week after Desmond Trufant has been injured since that first game of the season. So Jeff Okudah got out there in his first game action, and his first test was Devontae Adams, which is just really a tough ask for a rookie. So he was tested by fire last week, and he's got a challenge ahead of him this week, as well as, he's facing up against DeAndre Hopkins. But you got to look out for that Arizona run game as well, because Kyler Murray can really run on you.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Arizona is 2-0, and our Lions are 0-2. And if we come home with another loss this week, it's going to be another tough week for Matt Patricia with the media.
It definitely will be. So let's hope they turn it around.
All right, Tori. Thanks for popping on to the Guy Gordon Show. We'll look for your reports on DetroitLions.com. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with more after we take a quick break. Right now, let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
In Oakland County, you're moving slowly on 75 northbound between 696 and 14 Mile. In St. Clair Shores, you're a slow go on 94 eastbound right now between 696 and 12 Mile. And in Wayne County, vehicle fire on the Jeffries westbound at Beach Daly Road that has the right 3 lanes blocked. Now, WJR weather first. From the Weather Channel, sponsored by Gordon Chevrolet. Gordon Chevrolet, pull ahead your lease and take advantage of 0 interest for up to 84 months or sign and drive lease program. End of the month deals, open special hours this Saturday, 9 to 3. Gordon Chevrolet on Ford Road, just west of Merriman in Garden City. GordonChevrolet.com. Gordon Chevrolet, find new roads. Clear skies heading into tonight with a low near 55. Sunny for Friday with a high tomorrow of 79. Right now it's 76 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 3 minutes.
Whoa, I just did something I didn't know I could do.
Hey, Lord, do you want me to see if Dennis will call at 4:15 instead and just clear these callers, or do you not care?
No, let's keep them there. We're so jam-packed this today, I don't think it's going to matter.
Okay.
And our 445 guest is going to join via StreamYard.
Oh, is it a surprise?
I don't know. I don't know if Kevin wants to share who it is.
I hope he showered.
That's not something I'm gonna ask.
I hope he doesn't show up looking like Grizzly Adams after such a long absence. Or maybe I prefer it. I don't know. All right, so for now, we're keeping the 445 guest a surprise.
Yes.
We'll follow.
Definitely worth waiting for, though. It's not like the chief and the reporter from the front lines in Louisville or any of that stuff. This is the real deal.
Right, this is the big leagues. Honestly, I don't know how excited I am for it. Maybe I'm a 5.5, maybe.
Come on, don't you want to know what on the road again? Who's that reporter? Who's that reporter for CBS News that every Sunday morning he was in a different city and for 50
that sounds
years?
Expensive.
And then Matt Lauer did that too. It was like, where in the world is Matt Lauer? Or something like that.
I think Al Roker had a travel deal.
Yeah, but there was some guy for 100 years. He was like on the road, and he'd be in some little town with some person who, I don't know, blows glass or something, or does.
But it wasn't Bill. Well, I just Googled Bill Weir pops up, but he's the chief climate correspondent. I don't think that's him. You're not thinking about Andy Rooney on 60 Minutes, are you?
No, no. You know, it's Sunday morning CBS show. It's real folksy and
Nice shot, Mike.
What's that?
thanks, Mike. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, I know. Good thing I'm dressed modestly.
He's got his what did we call that, blue yesterday?
Yeah, this is just regular blue. Yeah, it's not my periwinkle Easter blue.
Easter blue, yeah.
Gun to my head, cerulean is probably my favorite shade of blue, but well,
when I wear blue, it changes the color of my eyes. They change from green to blue.
Our 4:45 guest is claiming the governor had a press conference at 2:00. And I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh, well, that's what is that what that article you guys sent at the last minute?
I don't know. I genuinely have no idea what he's talking about.
He can tell.
I haven't seen anything about it. I didn't even get a alert saying that.
I thought one of you guys emailed. I thought somebody emailed along with the rundown.
Marie sent us a story.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
But that wasn't a press conference.
Well, no, I think that's what he's talking about, though.
I think he's probably watching it on the DVR and he thinks it's live.
That's what I think. He might be seeing an old email.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, maybe we should cancel this 4:45 guest.
We need to.
He seems shifty to me.
He's calling from like North Carolina or somewhere.
I think he's in the Yukon. He's ice road trucking.
That's that story we were supposed to do yesterday at 4:00 and didn't do.
Refresh my memory on that one.
The W was silent, I believe, and it wasn't Frank, it was Fred, or vice versa.
Oh yes. Charles Kurt. Is that the CNN reporter that Jeff Bush, Charles Kuralt?
Yes, that's it.
Nice job, Jeff. I would have never guessed that in a million years. Charles.
He was really good. You got to go to YouTube and check him out. I'm sure somebody has put him on there.
Okay, he passed away in '97. A little bit before I was a teenager, not really into the news just yet. But
listen, we don't need your excuses.
It's what Kevin. I'm much younger than you, so that was no way I could have known that. Good job, Jeff. I wish we had I wish we had something to give you, some kind of prize.
That was good. I figured someone would bail me out eventually.
Yeah.
Charles Kuralt. There it is.
Oh, yeah, CBS this morning.
That's what I said.
I thought you said CNN, but I could be wrong.
CNN wasn't even invented then.
Another reason I was confused. All right, Jeff, you got it. Undying gratitudes.
Yes. We're not great at the prizes.
No. Okay, that's a deal.
Dennis called in and then I answered the phone and he wasn't there.
Oh, there he is again.
Guy Gordon show.
Fingers.
Hey, Dennis.
There we go. This is the type of behind the scenes stuff you're not going to get anywhere else.
Exactly. This
Guy
is what's going to push our viewership from 900 to 1K. This kind of interactive. Is Dennis there or not? Is
right
there or not? How many times will Mike interrupt me to tell me I'm wrong?
Well, here's the deal, Kevin. The less you mess up, the less I go on the air. So, in a roundabout way, we could say your job is keeping me off the air.
Do I go on the air every time you mess up?
Yeah, like I said, it's more of a necessity than. Watch it, mister. It's back to the roof for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't have a direct line into your earpiece, so.
The people want to hear from you. They like it. This voice from above just says, "No, go to Bob and Taylor."
Shut up, Kevin. Go to Bob now. All right. Let's go to Dennis now. We're back in 5 seconds.
This is The Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
The first presidential debate is going to be held. It's on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, at Case Western Reserve University in the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. The format for this one, the first one, calls for 6 15-minute time segments. All debates start at 9 o'clock, and it runs for 90 minutes, no commercials. This could be like Super Bowl ratings. Chris Wallace is the moderator of the first debate, and he has selected the following topics. Each one's going to get 15 minutes. The Trump and Biden records, the Supreme Court, COVID-19, the economy, race and violence in our cities, and the integrity of the election. Join us now to talk about it, preview it, tell us what he thinks is political consultant Dennis Darnoy. Dennis, thanks for being on The Guy Gordon Show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I appreciate it.
So are you pretty excited about this? I kind of feel like this is just going to be a lot of buildup over the weekend, and a lot of people are going to be in front of their TV sets at 9 o'clock to watch this first debate.
Well, especially if the president does nominate someone to the Supreme Court on Saturday, as he's been previewing, then obviously that Tuesday debate is going to be the first time that he can really get questioned on it. So, yeah, a lot of people have high expectations for this first debate. And as you mentioned, viewership is probably going to be through the roof for it.
So what do you think the strategies for each side will be? A lot of people obviously are going to be looking at Joe Biden to see how he does, if his memory holds up, or if he has the gaffes that people seem to point out every time he talks. Donald Trump, I heard him talking today, and he said, I don't know if I'm going to prep or not. I'm prepping every day, just doing the job. Joe Biden, he's done. He's not talking to the media anymore. He has no more appearances. He's in, studying up, getting ready, prepping for the debate.
Yeah, I mean, Trump has his own style. I don't think, he's never been one to be too concerned about the substance of an issue, so he doesn't really need to go into a deep briefing over any of those things. And he just, he has his style. I do think the pressure is on Biden, because a lot of people are expecting to see what quote unquote is called the senior moment. And, with Trump's style, the other thing that people do forget about Biden is, that he has at times to have a little bit of, he gets a little aggressive, and sometimes that does not come off well on TV. So he's got to figure out a way to be, assertive but not angry, and kind of deal with the way Trump is going to be. We saw him with Hillary and his style. It's not a Oxford debate kind of style. It's more of a street fight, and Biden's got to respond appropriately.
When you look at the topics, which topic do you think Donald Trump really wants to get into, and which one is Biden really waiting to pop in? You got the Trump and Biden records, the Supreme Court, COVID-19, the economy, race and violence in our cities, and the integrity of the election.
Well, I honestly think race and violence is one that Trump wants to talk about because it allows him to hit home on his law and order message. And that is one that does resonate within with the suburban voters. And really is one that when we look at polling and we see how he's increasing among independent voters, that's one of the areas that is really strong for him. Conversely, Biden's talk about Trump's handling of the coronavirus. That is one of the biggest weaknesses for the president. And, as much as he tries to say, well, it started in China, we couldn't have done anything about it, his response to it is really going to be called into question. And the fact that over 200,000 Americans have died from this virus is something that he's going to have to defend. That is part of his administration's record. So those would be the two areas that really are going to be heavily hit by each candidate.
And do you think they're really going to get after each other, or do you think this will be more, these are my talking points on each of these issues, I'm going to just sort of stay in my lane? Or do you think they'll really interact and call each other out on different issues that or statements that are made at the time?
Yeah, I think everyone goes in with a plan, and the plan then gets thrown out the window after the first first volley is lobbed, and that's going to be the case here. They will definitely go after each other. And again, it's, how is Biden going to respond to, the president's, insults? And, he's going to lie about Biden's record and Biden's son's record and with impunity and not really worry about being fact checked. And, Biden to respond in kind. He can't sit there and take it. That will make him appear weak. But then again, he can't take the bait and get off topic. So no, I expect this again. The moderators will do what they can to keep everyone on task, but there really won't be any guardrails for this one.
And you have Chris Wallace as the moderator. Do you think he gets active and in the middle, or do you think he just sets the table and lets them go at it? What do you expect out of Chris Wallace in this first debate?
Well, when we've seen him interview the president one-on-one, he hasn't been shy in terms of correcting the record and being pretty hard-hitting. I think he's an excellent moderator to start off the debate. I imagine that he will try to do the best that he can to keep it within a framework. Especially as you mentioned, there are going to be 6 specific topics to delve into over 15 minutes per topic. So I think he's going to try really, really hard to do it. But again, the candidates will be playing to a specific audience. There aren't really that many people who are undecided. So this is really, can you keep your supporters ginned up? Can you fire them up? And maybe pick off a vote or two and maybe throw a few questions back at your opponent that they struggle to answer. But yeah, again, I think the candidates themselves are going to stray all over the place in order to score political points if they can.
When you watch Donald Trump at his rallies, he does not hold back talking about Joe Biden's senior moments, as you call them. Do you think Donald Trump brings that up specifically, looks at him, addresses it? Do you think Joe Biden maybe brings it up first to try and get it out of the way so that they can move on to other issues? And do you think that becomes part of the debate, or do you think that Chris Wallace makes them stick to these topics that are up here?
Well, if you remember that great moment from the Ronald Reagan debate where, he was being called into question, his mental capacity was being called into question. And, he raised the issue and said, I will not bring up my opponent's youth and inexperience. That was a great way to handle that issue. And so if Biden can do it with a little bit of humor and kind of follow that Reagan pattern, then he'd be, well advised to do so, because Trump will bring it up. There's no doubt about it. There's no question that he will. So again, can Biden do it with a little bit of humor that puts people at ease? But then again, he's going to, if he does it early in the debate, he's going to have to maintain his record as he goes through. Because obviously you don't want to have one message and then, with your own words and your own actions, undercut what you had just said. So it's going to be a little bit of a balance. But then again, Donald Trump has set such a low bar for Joe Biden that, many people can say if he just shows up, then he'll have surpassed what Trump says he's capable of doing. So, there is a little bit of a double-edged sword there as well.
What do you think will be more important to independent voters or voters who have not decided yet, the debate or what happens with the Supreme Court nominee? I think what happens with the Supreme Court nominee is going to be more impactful on, the individual Senate races, the ones that we've been watching, the ones in Maine, North Carolina, potentially South Carolina, Colorado, Arizona. I don't know that it's phased too many independent voters for the presidential election. So to that end, I think it's going to be the debate to see, again, what Biden says, on issues like defund the police, that is, goes back to the law and order issue, and to really see, the president, when he's challenged on how his administration handled the coronavirus, and even questions about the vote integrity. The president is the one who brought up the fact that he may or may not accept the elections, even though the White House has backtracked today and said that he will. You haven't heard of that from him personally. So I think those are going to be things that voters are looking to see if there's any clarity whatsoever, to maybe help them sway them one way or the other. All right. Tuesday at 9:00. Dennis Darnoy, thanks for watching. I know you'll be watching, and we'll talk shortly after to see how it went. Thanks for being on the show.
Sounds great, Kevin. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. After the break, we're going to your calls, 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. But first, let's check in with the birthday boy, Michael Stetz, to see what's going on in traffic. Happy birthday, Michael.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. WJR Traffic first sponsored by Reamer Floors, introducing Karastan waterproof luxury vinyl floors now in stock at Reamer Floors. Luxury vinyl floors by Karastan are better than nature intended. Shop from home at reamerfloors.com or shop in-store by appointment only at Reamer Floors in Bloomfield Hills. In Wayne County, an accident just reported on 275 northbound after M14. Expect delays in the area. In Wayne County, again, some good news. That incident from earlier on the Jeffries westbound at Beach Daly Road, that is now cleared. And in Oakland County, you're moving slowly on 75 northbound between 9 Mile and 14 Mile. Now WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel.
Parade of low 80s continue into the weekend forecast. If you like the warmer side of fall, you'll love our forecast here for the next several days. Our record high today, 89 from 2017. 80 degrees this afternoon, 55 tonight, and low 80s Friday through the weekend. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
I don't know what. All right. I don't know why my mic was muted, but I'd solved the question about the press briefing, and that's because Guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's the email from last week.
Oh.
Well, he's been off for 2 weeks. We can cut him a little. I mean, I know it did make your life complicated for 10 minutes figuring out what the heck he's talking about.
Yeah,
but
it's not hard to check the date on an email.
If he's going to leave for 2 weeks, he can't expect us to run this show the way he used to do it. We'll just do whatever we want now.
Right. Tomorrow, you know what? Tomorrow, I was going to say, listen, welcome to the Kevin Dietz Show, a special guest host, Guy Gordon. You're welcome, Michael. Happy birthday.
Well, ML and I will call in. We'll be the first callers ready to go at 3:05.
Yeah. He wouldn't know what to do, but it would be funny. Watch us have a press briefing tomorrow. He'll be so mad.
I'll be so well. Yeah, I don't love press briefings because
none of us do.
Lots of cuts, but
well, no, that's a lie. She's not going to have one tomorrow because she wouldn't announce anything in it, and then she'd have to announce something on Saturday, and that wouldn't happen.
Right.
I'm really excited about this debate 9 o'clock on Tuesday, but now I realize it's up against Love Island, so I'm not going to be able to watch the debate.
Are you a big Love Island fan? I know you know the winner, right? Of a couple seasons ago.
Last year's.
I've never watched it.
Last year.
Well, and here's another teaser, Kevin. You can catch one of those on WJR on Tuesday night.
Yes, and that it won't be Love Island. It'll be
debate, yeah.
How do you know?
It'll be Hate Studio.
Are you? Who's carrying the debate? I should know this. I really apologize.
Well, it's Fox. Fox is the moderator. I think everybody's carrying it.
Well, are you sure then Love Island will be on?
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, we got to get someone on about
by everybody.
Danielle Mason for
by
sure.
Everybody, I meant CNN and MSNBC and Fox. I didn't really mean the networks. I don't know. Maybe they will carry the first one, the networks. I don't know.
You know, Laura, tell Guy to look into that. That way he won't be sending you a bunch of week-old emails.
Should I tell him to catch up on the season since there's 5 episodes a week?
Yeah. I don't know what you weirdos watch on TV. I've never heard of
I
the
do
show.
not watch Love Island. All I know is that Danielle Mason is a huge fan of it, and she was very excited when she found out that Kevin knew the winner from last year.
Yeah, her dad and I went to school together, and we had Elizabeth on about 3 times during the summer, and now she's doing a YouTube show talking about this year's show. She's talking about commenting each week.
Picking up on that podcast life.
Yeah, she ended
The
up
stories that have been breaking while you've been at work. 760 WJR, where Detroit comes to talk. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
According to FBI data, the Bureau processed 93% more background checks nationwide from March through July this year as compared with the same period the previous year in swing states, Arizona, Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Are people getting in before the election out of concern access to guns could dramatically change? I don't know. Swing states, gun sales are up 77.9%. You're listening to the Guy Gordon Show. Thanks for stopping by WJR 760, where Detroit comes to talk. The phone lines are pretty busy right now, so let's get right to them. You can give us a call at 1-800-859-0957. Let's start with August in White Lake. August, how are you?
I'm doing very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to talk to you again.
Well, good talking to you, Kevin. I really appreciate the call, and I'm a big believer in the power of three, if I can say that. And I do that for personal, religious reason, and it's just what it is. Because the reason I say that is there's so many good people in Detroit and the surrounding area. People that are working hard to really do the right thing, especially in these tough times. And they're honoring everything they can do.
You know, you watch what's going on in Louisville, Kentucky right now, and it's hard to watch, and it makes you appreciate what Detroit is doing, the citizens, the government, the law enforcement, everybody to make sure that we don't have violence and that Detroit doesn't burn as so many other cities around the country have during these difficult times.
And that's huge. Seriously, think about that for a minute. You look at the Chief Craig, you look at Mayor Duggan, you look at the surrounding communities. This is a solid community. And there's a lot of good people here, and they really want to do what's best for them, for us, for our families, for our loved ones. And you can do that every day. It's a choice. So get out there and make it happen.
All right, August.
Time for Detroit to show the world. This is what we're about.
We appreciate your optimism, and Detroit deserves a pat on the back. We're doing great so far. Let's keep it up. Let's check in with Jerry in Detroit. Jerry, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Hello, Kevin.
How are you?
How's it going?
Good.
I'm doing okay. Listen, all throughout the first hour, I've been hearing primarily white people. I'm black, by the way. They use the tendency of a lot of white people to defend what I feel are racist cops is the tendency to either besmirch or impugn the character of the dead victim, knowing being dead will never hear their side of the story. Second, if I could, I also want to bring up what I think is the worst system of justice in the world. This case, by the way, I think is one example of why I think the grand jury system should be reformed. And if it can't be reformed, then it should be abolished. Because I hate to think of what it might bode for a lot of the other cases across the country. And well, let's not forget, Kevin, you still have cases like George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, Elijah McClain, Daniel Prude, Ahmaud Arbery, and Jacob Blake, because I have a feeling that those cases will end up the same way. And the same white people who are calling, I'm assuming all the callers during the first hour are indeed white. They also tend to deny that race is involved when in fact it is. And I think that Kevin, I think most white people are in denial. I think there's a certain degree of denial when it comes to racist white police officers either beating or killing unarmed black men. They seem to think it's all in black people's heads. They deny that it's happening when indeed it is.
I can't argue with it, much of anything you're saying there, Jerry. I've been in Detroit. I've been very close with law enforcement, very close with citizens in Detroit. I've seen it personally, what you're talking about. I believe it exists. I believe there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I also respect law enforcement. It's a tough job, but I only respect those who are doing it properly for the right reasons, and I can support them. I've always said that police officers who are doing the job right should be turning in officers who are doing it wrong. They're the ones who see it. They're the ones who know, who is not following the rules, who's breaking the law, who's racist, who's just not pure at heart in law enforcement. And there absolutely needs to be reform for sure in law enforcement. I can't get behind abolishing it because I know that I believe anyway that it's necessary to have law enforcement, but absolutely it should be a constant work to be as close to perfect as possible, and it is a long way from that right now. And as for Breonna Taylor, she didn't shoot at police. She didn't do anything to deserve to die. So if you heard that tone of people kind of going after Breonna a little bit, I heard it too, Jerry. So I'm with you on that. Thanks for calling the show. Let's check in with George in Detroit. George, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks. FBI stats: a black man is 18 times and a half more likely to kill a cop than a cop to kill a black man. All right, it's probably going to be up over 20 this year. So let's get some stats on the thing. But that's not why I called. But I called to fact check my fact checker from yesterday. All right, I was telling you about what you kind of knew, what was happening in Florida. In these liberal groups, Mikey Bloomberg, and now it's I looked up a little more. It's the Miami Dolphins. We know they're down with the BLM. Levi Strauss is a very leftist company. So is Ben and Jerry. So Michael Jordan, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure his name was mentioned in that. I'm sure he's not a big Trump supporter. So this guy was trying to say, like, well, they're just, paying the fines for these, felons, and there's no partisan thing to it. Do you think Bloomberg and all these leftists are going to pay millions of dollars in fines if those guys are going to vote for Trump? Then I brought up the other thing about Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, and how he played that down like it was no big thing. Well, Governor McAuliffe, he just signed a bill, that got to him from his state legislature. All right, that allowed, felons to have their vote right before the election. And he was in business with Tony Rodham, Hillary Clinton's brother, and also he got and I'm glad he corrected me on this. It made it even worse against his side, that the $700,000 was laundered from Hillary Clinton. How she did with the Fusion GPS and Perkins Coy for the illegal $10 million paid to Christopher Steele. Well, she got $700,000 into the hands of Terry McAuliffe, the governor, to get into the hands of the wife of Andy McCabe, the associate or assistant director, deputy director of the FBI. And guess what he was in charge of, Kevin, if you don't remember? He was in charge of looking at the Hillary emails. All right. So this guy was like, oh, it was no big thing. He just signed a bill on that. And, so he was playing it all down. It's like, there's no partisan thing to it. Like, I was making a big deal out of it. It's like, do you think that McAuliffe wouldn't have vetoed that bill if he didn't think those felons were going to vote for Hillary and not for Trump? So it's like, come on, let's get real. Felons, and that tells you a lot. The people that are out there committing all these felonies and crimes and looting and shooting and all that stuff, they are Biden voters. They are Democrat voters. They're not Trump voters. So he can call in with all his fact checking that he wants, but it's just going to hurt himself. So,
all right, George, thanks for calling. We appreciate you calling in. Florida is looking into Bloomberg and the other billionaires' activities to see if any election laws were violated. It looks like we're going to have to take a quick break before we come back and get to the rest of the callers. Coming up next, we are also going to talk to the spokesperson for Unlock Michigan. They say they have enough ballots signed, petitions signed now, signatures to perhaps stop the governor from issuing all these executive orders. So we'll see where that stands coming up, and more of your calls as well. Right now, let's check in with traffic and Michael Stetz.
In Wayne County, an accident on 275 northbound after M14. Expect delays there. In Roseville, road construction on 696 westbound between Gratiot and Groesbeck that has the left two lanes closed. They are closed through 3 p.m. Monday. And also in Oakland County, you're moving slowly on 75 southbound between 12 Mile and 11 Mile. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Clear skies heading into tonight with a low near 55. Sunny for Friday with a high tomorrow of 79. Right now it's 76 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 1 minute.
Ooh. George's always fired up.
He didn't like getting fact checked yesterday. I can't get into those. I'm not sure why they like to argue so much about things that happened 8 years ago or whatever it is, but I certainly don't have the memory to do it.
Right.
Argue amongst yourselves. We gotta get them to Facebook so they can just argue in the comment section.
Yeah, then we just pop it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Yep. Elaine Oliveri was a big fan of George calling in.
Who are we talking about, Paul? And that guy called in earlier today?
I think he said that when Jerry was on, but I could be wrong.
Thousands taking to the.
I think he said that when Jerry was on, but I don't.
Yeah.
He might have been on with Chris during Frank's show earlier. That's very possible, but.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much we can only obviously the rule is you can only call in once a day, but we only hear our show, so once a day.
Is that a rule?
I don't know if it's a rule, but you could also get the same people calling in.
Mr. Optimus call all day, every day, every show.
Right. Yeah.
We follow that rule.
So you just put them up there. Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have the same person call in all day.
I thought Jerry was a good call. I like to get perspective. I like to hear from more than one side of things. I agreed with a lot of what he said, actually.
We do have another caller on hold that is agreeing with Jerry.
And we'll see that. Yeah, we got our mystery guest at 4:45, and then 4:35 we have an interview here.
Yeah, we'll take some calls before we get the guy. He probably doesn't need a full 8 minutes to update us, or does he?
Why don't we throw him into the ringer and have him take a couple calls and see if he knows what they're talking about?
Right.
Welcome back. Here's Guy and Jerry from
Really test his news nerdness.
Here's Tony and Lewis and Paul and Guy Gordon.
Paul from Brighton disagrees with Guy a lot. I think we should do that. Throw him in the cold water. Yeah, Paul from Brighton and Guy argue a lot. So that should be the guy we throw at person we throw at Guy.
Welcome back.
Yep. By the way, you let the cat out of the bag of our 3:45 guest.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Special.
Now we're pumping it up. Now we're getting people excited.
And also Carolyn and Jerry, congratulations again. Like Jeff, I wish I had a prize to give you, but
what did they get right this time? Oh, on who the guest
was going to be. Yeah. You think Guy remembers us, Laura? It's been a while.
Oh, he remembers me. I can promise you that. There was definitely communication on his trip when I was on mine.
Guy's going to look at us and say, who are these strange people?
He's coming on the streamline.
I think so. We'll see if he has his vacation beard
and vacation hair. Fred's there, by the way.
Okay.
I hope he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Fred is is it Zolek?
I think so. I'll confirm. Fred, could you remind us how to pronounce your last?
I believe it is Zolik. Yep.
You are correct, Zolik.
All right.
I really should make a note of that, but I didn't.
Your first question should be, what's with the W?
And the S.
Yeah.
Just go with the Zolik.
Yeah.
Well, then he'd be at the end of the alphabet, and he might not like that.
Oh, that could be.
That's true. It's no fun being later on in the alphabet, especially back when you were in school and things were called in alphabetical order. It's a trauma you never get over.
I was pretty much in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. H, that's early. Dietz.
Early.
I used to like it too because with my cousins, there's 5 of us, and I'm the middle one. And whenever we'd open presents, we'd either start with the oldest or the youngest, and it didn't matter because my order never changed.
This one's for you, Avivius.
Yep.
In Catholic school, you went to the same school from 1st through 12th grade. And
Why
so
are you here, Mr. Gordon?
you had the same locker buddy for all these years.
Having
Here already?
problems getting in early.
Stranger, who is this guy? We're getting hacked. Give me a side
You're right.
Guys, we enjoyed your posts from the road. That was quite a trip.
Oh my God. I'm so exhausted. You know how you have that post-trip letdown? I'm in the middle of that, but I was up at 4:30 this morning, so
You're going to be extra crabby for me tomorrow?
Did you do most of the
Let's
driving?
save it for the next break. We're back in 20 here.
Did you do most of the driving, guy? We'll have to wait. It'll be a cliffhanger. It'll be a cliffhanger.
This is The Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
The organization Unlock Michigan said it has gathered more than 500,000 signatures to repeal a 1945 law that allows a Michigan governor to declare an emergency and keep the declaration in place without any input from state lawmakers. The emergency declaration is important because it gives Governor Gretchen Whitmer the ability to take unilateral actions to combat the pandemic, such as closing businesses or suspending state laws. Unlock Michigan wants to take that power away, and joining us now on the line is the spokesperson of Unlock Michigan, Fred Zolik. Fred, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
So, like in all politics these days, this will not go without a fight. Already, other organizations and even the Attorney General is saying there's been complaints about the way that signatures have been gathered and they're going to be challenged. What is your take on this? Are you fine? How many signatures did you need? Do you have enough, even if some of them didn't meet the regulations required to obtain signatures?
We need to turn in 340,000 and change signatures to qualify our initiative. We're going to turn in well more than 50% over that. We'll be up over 500,000. We're still counting, and we'll be filing sometime next week, but that's about 100,000 pieces of paper. So there's a lot of paper cuts happening this afternoon.
So there was some controversy in the news this week. They talked about a video of one of the trainers who was telling people how to go out and get signatures for Unlock Michigan. And it appeared that he was telling people how to break the rules, if not break the law, to obtain signatures. You've said that you think this was a setup, that he was there on purpose to try and discredit your organization?
Yeah, he doesn't work for us. He is apparently has a long background in progressive politics out of California. Somehow finds himself in Michigan. He works for a campaign called Progressive Campaigns. The name gives it away. Somehow ends up in Michigan as a subcontractor for a conservative-backed ballot proposal. He says all sorts of crazy illegal things on camera, recommends people perjure themselves if they're asked about it. There happens to be an opposition tracker in the room just by coincidence, and he captures it all on video, and then this guy disappears and won't answer his phone. I don't know. Seems like a scam to me.
But he's not a trainer that you guys hired.
No, I mean, normally people work on the things that they believe in. And we want people who believe in this working for us. We've got over 80,000 activists who helped us collect signatures across the state. This is a pretty easy lift. It wasn't hard getting people to give themselves a voice in this endless shutdown that we've been involved in with Governor Whitmer. She just won't give up this emergency power. She thinks the emergency continues forever. She's talked about how it may continue for several more years. So she's prepared to govern alone without any input from anybody else for her entire term, it seems. And nobody should be given that kind of power as a politician. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. There should be some other voices at the table.
Does this controversy, if you even want to call it that, does that give the Secretary of State any cover if she decides to take a lot longer to go through these signatures to make sure that they're valid? Because the longer she delays, if she can delay it past the election, it's possible that Michigan Senate will change, and it may kill this in the long run.
her director of elections filed a sworn statement with the federal court saying that the process takes 60 days to validate an initiated law. This isn't some ballot proposal that goes on the ballot whenever the next one comes around. This is the citizens have the right to initiate their own laws and to put them in front of the legislature for a prompt vote. The legislature can't take more than 40 days to consider this. It's nonsensical to think that a state agency can start whenever they feel like and take however long that they like to give people the right that they've given themselves in the state constitution. They have an obligation to act on these petitions quickly.
Michigan's Attorney General has jumped in too. She said that they've received complaints that some residents reported to them that they were told that this petition would give the governor emergency powers, or that it would put it on the ballot for a vote instead of what it actually says. Are you saying that these, obviously in any signature collection, there's going to be some mistakes and some signatures that aren't valid, but because you have 500,000, are you saying that these things shouldn't matter and this thing should be fast tracked, or at least move on the track that other situations like this have?
Well, it should move at the pace it should. I mean, the director of elections says it takes 60 days, so there's no reason for it to take any other amount of time than that. That's what he has said is the process, and Secretary Benson has stressed that she is, a stickler for process, and that's how you ensure fairness. If you just do what the rules say you do, I think people can misunderstand what's being said in front of a post office. They hear it's about the governor's emergency powers, and then they misunderstood what was said or not said. But it's all, they can read the proposal. Our proposal is literally one sentence long. Sometimes you get one of these petitions and it's 12 pages of fine print that only a lawyer could love. Ours is pretty simple. It tells you exactly what it will do. So there doesn't need to be any sort of misunderstanding or misinterpretation. Just read the one sentence and it tells you everything you need to know.
Governor Whitmer said that any attempt to strip away her powers during this crisis, during COVID-19, is irresponsible, dangerous, and foolish. Do you believe that if legislators were able to have a say in what did and didn't happen, that it would be irresponsible, dangerous, and foolish?
I'll tell you what was dangerous and foolish. It was putting Michigan's sickest people in nursing homes with Michigan's most vulnerable people. And I'll tell you what, if Governor Whitmer had to take that insane policy in front of the legislature to get their consent, it would have never happened and lives would have been saved. I think she needs more voices at the table, not fewer. She doesn't just need one lawyer and one health advisor telling her what the answer is, and then she can just issue a decree and make it so. She needs to hear from other people, and they will keep her out of trouble if she just lets them in.
So what do you do if they slow play this, if they take their time and try not to get this done before the election? Or not before the election, but before we have a new Senate?
Yeah, before the end of the calendar year. I mean, we understand that the director of elections says the process should take 60 days. If it starts taking longer than that, then we'll seek judicial relief, because they shouldn't be able to slow walk people's constitutional rights. This isn't just some, like we sent a memo and we didn't get a response as quickly as we wanted. This is a constitutional provision that gives people the right to present the legislature with a law for prompt consideration. And frankly, this is probably the highest profile, most important political dispute in Michigan today. It's the subject of numerous lawsuits. It's been to the Supreme Court a couple of times. Let's settle this once and for all.
All right, Fred Zolik, Unlock Michigan. Thanks for coming on the Guy Gordon Show. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a few more of your calls, and we have a special guest. But right now, we are going to check traffic with Michael Stetz.
In Wayne County, an accident on 275 northbound after M14. Expect delays in the area. In Port Huron, delays up to 15 minutes right now on the Blue Water Bridge heading eastbound. And in St. Clair Shores, you're moving slowly on 94 eastbound between 696 and 12 Mile. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Reamer Floors. Introduced in Karastan, waterproof luxury vinyl floors. Now in stock at Reamer Floors. Luxury vinyl floors by Karastan are better than nature intended. Shop from home at reamerfloors.com or shop in-store by appointment at Reamer Floors in Bloomfield Hills.
Well, we had such a comfortable start to the work week with fall in the air earlier this week, but we're up close to 80 degrees again today. Now, records this time of year in the upper 80s. Our record high today, 89 from 2017. We won't be that warm, but we will be right at 80. 55 our low tonight. Comfortable, cool nights, warm afternoons. Low 80s for Friday into the weekend. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
Where's our friend?
There he is.
There he is. There he is. Did you fall asleep on us during that?
Mad Max Road Warrior.
Yeah. So, Guy, what's the deal with coming back from vacation on a Friday? That's what everyone's asking me around here.
Yeah, because when you're taking 2 weeks off and you're back, I figured I needed a good Friday to break myself in.
Yeah.
See, that's what I said. I said it probably is going to make Friday less of a drag because if you're off for 2 weeks, you come back on a Monday, it'll be a lot easier if you come back on a Friday first.
Yeah, just now I'm getting to regret it because I'm
not.
realize
Don't
I'd be
change
quite
your mind.
tired.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I figured you would.
I thought it was the best idea ever. So how was it driving that rig? Have you driven one of those before?
No. And you know what? It was fine until you first of all, you got to realize how long you are. Then you got to realize how high you are. And once you've got that factored into your head, you're fine. You just have to keep reminding yourself that you're not going to pull through the McDonald's drive-through. There's just things you can't do.
I like the story of everything breaking right as you pull out of the driveway, basically.
Oh my God.
Tumbling and crashing.
All the drawers you thought, Gail really was so planted out so well. And then we start to hear stuff hitting the floor behind us going down Telegraph.
I think that's why guys carry duct tape with them wherever they go. You just duct tape that stuff all up and
Velcro. We just needed Velcro everywhere.
Exactly. Oh man, that's fun. I'm glad you did that. We always talked about going to the Grand Canyon that way, and then we talked about flying to Vegas and getting in one and going to the Grand Canyon that way,
which makes a lot more sense.
Are you and Mort Krim going to start an RV gang now, Guy?
Yeah, I think I'm going to visit all of the presidential libraries. Yeah, I'm
and Mike Wendland, he does that too, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I think he's an RV guy.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the attraction. The problem was it was truly like rat race. I mean, we were racing to this prize, these grandchildren, right? And so we never took the time to smell the roses or to do anything. I mean, we were pulling into our campsite after dark. Yeah, I needed it. Well, and that's the other thing. If I had it to do over again, we were doing 10 hours a day.
Oof.
I don't think I would do it that way again. I would do 8 hours a day max. And we did stop off and see my cousins in Colorado on the way back, and that was a blast. But then that meant we didn't get to our campsite till 10 o'clock at night.
Did you miss the news at all, or did you follow it along, sort of?
I get the bulletins on my phone, so when RBG died, knew that and kind of followed but I've kind of been unplugged. I mean, I don't think in my career, Kevin, I've ever been this unplugged.
I can attest to that just based on things I would send you, and you had no idea what I was talking about.
I had no idea. No, it was.
So tomorrow will be great.
Yeah, I'm dumb as a stone. I've got to go back and read the stuff about Breonna Taylor, but I'm listening to the stuff that folks are talking about today. Going, what did they reid?
You can pull up some podcasts on WJR.com. They'd be a good resource for you.
Oh gosh, this notion that there was this guy, the guy she was sleeping with that night, that his name was on the warrant. Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, they apparently they have access to things that even the governor doesn't have access to.
Yeah, you just like go, oh man.
The Guy Gordon Show, 760. Detroit. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
And we got a special guest in this segment, but first we're going to take a couple more of your calls because we appreciate you calling in and hanging on the phone. So let's check in quick with Paul in Brighton. Paul, thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show.
Yeah, one thing I don't understand about the Breonna Taylor shooting by the police is that the report is that the police began firing when they were fired upon by apparently Breonna Taylor's boyfriend fired a shot at them when they broke the door down. It's surprising, by the way. If you broke into somebody's house or apartment here in Livingston County, I guarantee somebody would shoot back at you. But be that as it may, the police fired 32 rounds. 8 of them went into the body of Breonna Taylor. The other 24 are unaccounted for and did not hit the person that fired upon them. And the police, one of the officers was indicted for wanton endangerment of Breonna Taylor's neighbors, but not her, while the police failed to put a round into the body of the person that shot at them. That's incompetence, if nothing else, isn't it?
I don't know how many years these officers had on the job, but yeah, that's a strange situation that I'm sure will be looked into by their supervisors, if not the media and everyone else. Thanks for calling, Robin Canton. Welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
You know, just off your last caller, he's never been shot at before. It's probably obviously dark. The cop couldn't see and was shooting to save his life and the life of the fellow officers. But, you know, when Jerry called, I couldn't believe you went along with that call. You know, all these police, including our chief of police in Detroit, they're not racist people, Jerry. And I'll tell you, you know, a lot of the African Americans down in these African American communities got bars on their windows and doors. Are they racist? No. When's the last time you heard about the cops breaking in a house in the middle of the night? That tells you why the bars are on their windows and doors. And just one more thing I'd like to add. You know, if you went to Chicago or Detroit or any major city across the land, look on African American killing African American. It's about 10 million times more than any cop that killed a black man. And I'm sure that these police wake up every day with that. That's probably the farthest thing from them. I'm going to go kill a white guy today, or I'm going to kill a black guy today. Thank God we got the police. I don't know. I every time Jerry calls, and you know, I got nothing against him, but you know, I see his views. You know, just such racist views. And you know, I just like to say, when Obama ran against Romney, in 17 zip codes, not one African American voted for Romney. That's a true picture of racism. So I couldn't believe you went along with that call. I really I thought your views were different.
I appreciate you calling in. I can only go by my own experience, and my experience of working with police in the city of Detroit. I love the police, but we have a long way to go with racism in this country, and that's in every industry, including police. And we definitely, in my opinion, can get better and grow from this. But thanks for calling. One final call before our special guest, Sharon, real quick. Welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I agree with Jerry. I was infuriated by those calls that I listened to about an hour and a half ago. And I'm a 64-year-old African-American female. So therefore, I didn't expect that those cops would be charged with murder. But also, I just need people to understand that all African-Americans don't believe and setting fires and pulling white people out of their cars and beating them up or approaching them while they're eating. But we also don't believe in BS slipshod police work that results in a young lady being murdered in her apartment, whether she was standing, sitting, or whatever, and she had a courageous boyfriend who was trying to protect her and didn't know who the H was on the other side of that door because they didn't announce themselves. I don't believe, and I wasn't there. And that person who went through that, they knocked for 15 minutes. He wasn't there either.
All right, Sharon, thanks so much. We appreciate your call and your point of view. Now let's get to our special guest. The one and only Guy Gordon is back from 2 weeks vacation, on the road in a big RV, heading to the West Coast. My goodness, Guy, the stories you must be able to tell.
First of all, our threshold for calling somebody a special guest has really dropped. Okay.
Well, they called me a special.
We really lowered the bar.
I didn't know.
You want to sell furniture? You go get Guy Gordon.
Exactly. Mort has it right. Yeah, 5,000 road miles later, I'm back. Gail and I did not kill each other, which came as a huge surprise to our children. We had a great time with the grandkids. And for those that have thought about it, like Gail and I had, about getting into an RV and doing it, don't stop thinking about it. Do it. We had a blast.
So the idea was to get out to the West Coast and not get infected with COVID in an airplane or in a hotel or anything like that. It was you didn't have COVID. You got in your RV together with the dog and headed out to see the grandkids.
We got tested. We didn't test the dog. We probably should have, because she gets out and does some pretty radical things. But no, we got tested. We came up negative. We got in the RV and we were in our cocoon all the way out to San Diego. And stayed in some marvelous places in Nebraska and Colorado. Had a great time. For people that are worried about all running the RV, yeah, it's a high-profile vehicle going through Nebraska. We watched a semi get blown onto the shoulder at 70 miles an hour. I mean, that's how bad the winds were. So it does take a lot of concentration and focus. But we had so much fun and just really enjoyed just being on the road together. And the only downside is yes, you are driving a very sophisticated porta potty, okay? And at some time you got to get rid of all that stuff. And Gail had me so paranoid about that. And so I am at one point I'm at the wheel and I smell a stench that I am sure is the black water tank of the RV has exploded or something. And I turn to Gail and I say, do you smell that? Would you please, of course, now you're going to ask your wife, yeah, would you go please check and see if sewage is spurting from our toilet? That's a quick way to end your life right there. But she
sent you to the next rest area to inspect it yourself.
Exactly. She looks at me and just starts laughing. We're going by a stockyard with 7,000 head of cattle alongside the road. That's what I was smelling. But and so we didn't have any calamities. We had a lot of laughs and a lot of good times. We did have we were by ourselves at an RV park. We're the only folks there. We're watching a movie about 10 o'clock at night and someone knocks on our door. I go to the door and there's nobody there. This was like a Hitchcock movie. Okay. And so I come back and I searched everywhere around the RV, didn't hear anybody giggling in the bushes. I come back to bed. Gail's like, bring the frying pan. Where's the cast iron skillet? And I said, no, because I can just see it now. How did Guy die? Well, he went to relieve himself and Gail fractured his skull on the way back to bed.
It wouldn't be the first time, I bet.
No. And it would be justifiable.
Well, that's the thing I always love about camping is you meet people and you see parts of the country you'd never see before. And it's just beautiful. And I imagine it's like that with the RV as well.
Absolutely. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for filling in, Kevin. Appreciate it. And to ML and Denny and the rest. Thanks so much. And to Laura and Mike for keeping a lid on things.
All right. It was a lot of fun. Guy will be back tomorrow, and I'll be on Paul W. Smith on Monday. Have a great night, and we will see you soon. Let's check in with traffic with Michael Stetz. Laura, you're fuzzy. You're like you're a weak signal, like you're.
Well, here's our tearful goodbye with you, Kevin.
It's just you guys are just lucky that you had ML for the first week. You only had 4 days of me. You guys would have started calling in sick, I think.
When did you guys have Denny? I heard Denny one day. I happened to tune in on I can't remember why.
That was the only day.
Last Thursday.
Just last Thursday? Yeah.
I mean, we're on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's
it was Kevin and ML for the rest. No, we had Sean for a day.
We had Sean on Friday.
Did it bug you a little bit that you were gone when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died? That always drove me crazy and then I liked it because like I could sit in front of a TV and just watch the coverage, which you never get to do when you're working.
Right. No, I was on my honeymoon when the Challenger went down. So I'm used to this, that I go on vacation and calamities happen.
Big things happen.
Yeah.
But it also happened Friday night, so that helped too.
Yeah. I mean, it was like 5 o'clock on a Friday, wasn't it?
It was later. It was like 6:30, 7 o'clock here.
Yeah. I mean, it came through on my phone and it was like, yeah, Monday's going to be crazy. But yeah, you had 2 days to let it die down and to just kind of watch what happened. But
and next week will probably be more reactionary for us.
Once Trump said he was naming someone and the Senate said they were confirming him, the story kind of went away because there wasn't anything the Democrats could do about it.
Yeah. Well, what's this crazy stuff about? Well, we're going to pack the court. We're going to end the filibuster. We're going to make Guam a state.
You better win the Senate first.
Yeah, as if somehow spite has ever worked as a political dogma. Yeah, I don't.
It is interesting though how one party will change a law that they think is going to help them, and then it bites them in the butt down the road.
Yeah, I don't get it, but apparently they think that's going to win them fans. I don't see it, but well, I will 9 o'clock. Okay for you tomorrow, Laura?
It's my routine.
It is. It's your
I'm
life.
prepared for an hour and a half phone call with you.
Yeah, I like the hair.
It was picture week,
I'm on camera, so I did my hair.
Laura had to get her photo taken, and Mike got his photo taken, and they were all dressed up. It was a very nice week here.
Yeah, when you're here, I don't have to get dressed up.
I'm doing mine on Tuesday, which maybe I can look a little bit more aware and awake by then, get the road crime off. Apparently, they want me to be in business attire as well. So I don't know what that's about.
Maybe you're getting a shift change.
Apparently, I'm being moved to the newsroom.
We broke that from you, guy. You're not the news guy anymore.
This is our intern guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, well.
I'm getting end on this broadcast.
Yeah, I'm going to leave too. I want to go home.
All right. By the way, are we doing this tomorrow on StreamYard?
No,
are we doing?
Whoa.
Only Kevin gets to be on TV? Okay, fine.
No, we'll talk in the morning and we can go over everything then, guy.
All right.
Kevin's moment.
See you guys. Thanks everyone on Facebook for coming in.
Let's see how long we can keep Laura until she snaps. Okay, just now. All right.
Yeah, she snapped.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Welcome home, guys.